Welcome to this special Ask Mojang panel, where we'll be answering a bunch of questions from you folks about the upcoming Caves and Cliffs update. After Minecraft Live, we've got a ton of questions, so we're gonna go through the most common ones and make sure that we try to address them. Let's jump into it. The first question is from Smuggler512, and I'm gonna ask this one to you, Agnes. So could you all maybe add some fireflies to illuminate the caves? Because I like how they looked, but we know that the ores aren't going to emit light, so fireflies could be extremely cool.
That's a lovely idea. Fireflies would probably mean some kind of dynamic lightning, which would be cool at some point, but that's not what we will focus on now, because that's also will take quite a lot of time to work on. However, we will look into other ways to light up the caves.
Yeah, exactly. So that was going to be my follow-up question, right? So you talk about all these ores emitting light right now, and then it's just a placeholder kind of thing. So could you give us a sneak peek at, an idea of what it's going to look like?
We actually have seen something in the lush caves already with the vines that hang from the ceiling, and they have the glow berries that give light. And we're thinking about maybe similar features to add, but not the same ones, of course, but more variation, like light sources in the caves.
Welcome. All right, so without that, we're just going to jump straight into the questions, actually. This one is from Tanstar23, and I'm going to direct this one to you, Cory. Thanks for adding telescope to the game for us Pocket Edition players. Also, can we craft binoculars too with the crystals so we can have a little bit of a bigger view? And thanks for all the features you're bringing us.
Oh, well, you're welcome, Tanstar23.
Yep.
Nice.
Unfortunately, no, we're not bringing binoculars in. The spyglass will be the only item that you will be able to look through to zoom far away for this update.
How did you come up with the spyglass?
I actually was sitting in bed one day thinking, what could we do with crystals? And so I actually Googled the word crystal, and I started to look through every entry in Wikipedia for all the different things crystals could do. And then I was talking with Agnes, and we were both brainstorming ideas. And then I gave her like 50 ideas. She was like, that one right there, the spyglass, yes.
That's one way of bringing features in, right? Awesome. Speaking of crystals, though, I have another question here from bottle_rose. Will the crystals have more things you can craft with them, like decorative stuff, new fantasy-like light source, or some crystal blocks? It would be amazing.
Yes, so remember the big list that I just mentioned? We have at least one absolute will come into the update feature for crystals, and one that I'm hoping will make it in.
Hello.
So, the first question is from Golden OS, and I'm going to ask this one of you, Felix. Are the cliffs that are currently in your world going to be updated? I live inside one of the cliffs in my main world, and I don't know if I should be ready to move out yet. Is my cliff going to be changed into a new one?
I like the idea that you update the game and you open your front door and immediately there's a cliff right in front of you. But this is a kind of fundamental principle that we have, is that we don't want to change your existing world. The chunks that you've generated and that you've already built in, we really don't want to. It's not our place for us to go in and start putting new features in there, like, oh, here's a nice tree and a new cliff to appear. So yes, we won't be touching existing chunks. But if you do want to explore the new content, you will have to travel beyond into new unexplored territory and find all the new caves and all the new cliffs that are around.
So could you elaborate a bit on that? I'll say, I've built my house on the far edge of my world. How far would I need to go in order to see these new mountains?
Oh, I have the number written right here, actually.
Yeah, let me know.
No. Well, you can use the nether, and then you can just, cheat your way all the way through to the other side of the map if you want, or get the elytra and just fly off. But you would have to. It depends how much of the world you explored. So if you've only stayed in that one area, then you could just pick a cardinal direction, go north south, and then find new chunks and start generating the world.
Yeah,
basically places you haven't seen before.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, next question then. This one is from Michigm, maybe, perhaps. I'm gonna ask this one of you, Sarah. So, can we know the exact release date of the Caves and Cliffs update?
We've said summer 2021. I think that's as exact as we want to be. We want to make sure that we build a really, really good update for players. Right. So that's the key focus.
So what day are we going to release? Is it going to be a Friday?
Not committing to anything.
Okay, all good. All right then. So the next question is for Nir, actually. I think it's probably one of the more important questions we have here.
Brilliant.
Because it's about the axolotl. And this one is from Henry 0, 4, 9, lots of numbers, essentially. So they're asking how much damage will the axolotls do?
Yeah, we talked about it. I think there's a lot of balancing going around there, and what we decided is going to be exactly 1 axolotl worth of damage.
A whole one
No, a
axolotl?
specific one, yes.
I see. So if I would put that into perspective, like an axolotl versus an iron golem, where would I end up?
So I think what's interesting about the axolotl is that the numbers are not the most important part, right? Because he's going to do like however damage. We're still tweaking it around, so we're not sure. But he's going to do some damage to the iron golem, and the iron golem is like, oh my god, an axolotl, and like fling his hands. And then the axolotl is going to be cheaty and like play dead until he's full health again, right? So
All right.
I'm pretty sure he's not going to have any chance.
So they're beating the system, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Oh, that's pretty neat.
They're smart little creatures.
Yeah. With that, let's just jump into the next question then. This one's for you, Cory. This is from I am confused 29. Let's hope he's less confused after this one. Will new ores be added?
So we're adding copper, as we announced it live. And beyond that, we don't have any plans to add any more ores for this update.
So if you could add the one ore that you truly wanted, what would you add?
Cory?
I mean, well, I guess it was like...
You set me up,
yeah,
come on.
You get another question then. And this one is from Curie Random. Why does only copper have a chemical process involved like oxidation? The other ores don't have that.
I appreciate the question, especially because it sort of draws into tying Minecraft into reality. What we like to do in Minecraft is each feature that we add should be unique in some way. It should have some unique property or some unique behavior. So with copper, we felt that that was the most interesting behavior we could add for it, but that we didn't feel that every block in the game should have that behavior because then all ores in the game sort of become the same, and then they're not interesting and unique anymore.
The ores have 4 states, if I'm correct, like the copper one. Which one is your favorite?
Lightly weathered.
Lightly weathered. So
Yes.
that's the second stage from
Yes.
fresh, I guess.
Exactly.
Awesome. So next question is from, I'm just going to say redacted here. This is, will there be new cave variations and improved generation in the Nether in the end? What do you say, Felix?
Ooh, so we just did the Nether update and kind of said, we're happy with that. So I don't think we need to touch the Nether at all for the time being, at least. And the end kind of has its own personality. We need to understand that a bit more before we think about that. But for now, this update is purely for the overworld caves. This is specifically looking at what we have already in the overworld and seeing what we can add and the new features for this.
So if you could go into the end and tweak it in terms of, say, new generation, what would you do?
I'll probably put massive skyscrapers that spell out my name.
Yeah. I mean, I get that. I would probably do something along the same lines.
I
Spell out
think
Felix's
everyone,
name, really?
yeah, spelling out my name.
Probably, yeah. I would
Nice.
probably pick my own though, to be fair.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks for that.
I think the end is a hard cookie. Like, we need to really think about it, because part of its identity is being so desolate, right? So everything you add to it sort of takes from that. So you need to, I don't know, find a balance.
I would put something under the islands which you have to go find. I don't know what.
But then you have a
That's
cave
pretty cool.
underneath. Is that a hole to plummet through if you're not careful? It adds quite a bit.
That's pretty cool,
of challenge.
actually.
Already it's terrifying digging.
It sounds
around.
dangerous rather than cool to me.
But I like that the danger in the end is not about strong things trying to kill you, right? It's like even the shulkers, they just make you go up and then fall damage does the job. Right? I really like that.
Okay, so this next question is from The Real Join Main. Will the Caves and Cliffs update include a height limit increase? I'm very interested in building much higher than you currently allow.
That's a great question, and yeah, we have seen many of these questions. So yeah, we can say that we are looking into it, but we can unfortunately not promise anything at this point because it's kind of tricky tech-wise to extend the world height, and we also, for example, need to look into that we don't get performance issues from it. But we really do want to extend the world height and are looking into it.
It's super cool though. So when do you think we'll have an update on this?
Early next year at the latest.
Another follow-up question for Agnes then. This one is from Remisia 5. The new update is Caves and Cliffs, but there's nothing presented about cliffs in Minecraft Live. So does this mean that the cliffs part of the update is the mountains part update we promised from last year?
Yes, that's correct. So cliffs is mountains. It sounded a bit more fun with caves and cliffs than caves and mountains.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, so with the mountains, so it's the more spectacular mountain generation. We showed the picture at live, but we will of course show more things soon, TM. And we have the snowier snow and the goats. So that's the cliff side. I think the mountain generation itself, it's looking so cool and pretty, very inspiring.
All right, so the next question I'm gonna ask to Matthew here. And this one is from the Moo Bloom the cow. So I can imagine what you think the question will be about. So the question is, will Moo Bloom and the Astrologer be added in a future update?
Those mobs didn't win the mob vote, which means they go back into our big pile of ideas. So we could put them in another update if it makes sense, but we don't have to. And yeah, we might put something else in instead.
You mentioned this big pile of things. Like, how big is this pile?
We get a lot of ideas from the community. We've got a website with, I think, hundreds of suggestions, and we have just as many inside the company as well.
At Minecraft Live, which team were you on?
I was supporting the Astrologer.
All right. And this question is from FadeL07784112. Easy to remember. So, is it challenging to include something that already exists in the Java edition of Minecraft, or vice versa?
Yes, it can be challenging, but what I'm really happy about is that we have been working very hard lately at improving our collaboration between our teams, and I feel that that has really helped with making sure that the players getting the same experience.
I agree. I think it's great, actually. But could you elaborate a bit? So, what would you say is the most challenging part then when it comes to getting things the same across both Bedrock and Java?
That's also a great question. The most challenging thing is obviously that the Java and the Bedrock version are built in two separate platforms, and they aren't working exactly the same. And again, how we do that then is that we actually do pair up a lot. And for example, me and Cory, we can then sit together, and he maybe developed the solution first in Java, and then when I'm going to do it in Bedrock, we can talk together, we can try to build the code together, and that's, I think, really helping us to make the same experience for both code bases.
I'm glad he didn't say the hardest part was working with me.
But that's the best part.
I mean, I think everybody understands that already, so let's not go into that one. So Brandon, you are up. So this next question then is from Sanic7HQR. So a friend and his were talking about this earlier, but does the new Warden mob have any sort of correlation to the broken disc from the olden days of Minecraft? And what was the inspiration for the Warden mob? Some of the sound effects sounded very similar to how, and it got us thinking.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I've always been like very interested in sort of like the music discs from Minecraft, like Disc 11 and Disc 13. And even though they're not necessarily related, I was definitely very inspired. I mean, even, back when I was a teenager, I was thinking like, what's the monster making that noise at the end of like Disc 11 or Disc 13? And again, while they're not necessarily related, I was always just thinking of like, what could Scary Mob look like in Minecraft? So that was definitely an inspiration, and some other, horror games that I play are definitely an inspiration, and they just all kind of came together to make the Warden.
All right, so what you're saying right now is that all future hostile mobs will have music disc inspirations?
Could be. Who knows?
Okay. I mean, I'll keep you to your word. Okay, next question is from Jackson 989552268. It's a long word. And for Brandon then, again, this question, what would happen if we spectate a Warden? Would we see just it being pure black, or how would we hear the vibrations from their point of view?
I mean, I love that idea. I don't know if we could actually do it with all the other things that we have to bring to this update, but I mean, I'll definitely keep it in mind. I really like that. I would love like if, it was just pitch black and maybe you could just see like the vibrations through the ground or something, but I don't know, we'll have to see.
I think that sounds really cool.
Yeah, I think we all, when we saw that idea, we're like, oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Maybe not now, but we should, as you said, definitely
keep it in mind.
Yeah, we should give that some thought for sure. It sounds really fun. Next question then is from Captain Grey FYYX. So since I know you worked a bit on goats, this one just needs to ask this. Are you going to be able to ride goats in this update?
Yeah, I've been a little bit of the goat guy, I guess. It's a great mob, but no, you're not going to be able to ride a goat. And it's a little bit, as Cory said before, we want all our features to be unique in some way, and we already have the horse that you can ride on, so we don't want to take that away from the horse. However, I still think that the goat is going to be a really fun mob for everyone to explore.
So what's the most fun part about the goat, do you think?
For sure, getting knocked off a mountain.
So much fun.
Yes, that doesn't sound like a lot of fun. So has that happened to you?
Yeah.
Great for the whole family.
Yeah.
Did you laugh all the way down?
Well, I actually did, It was so fun to actually see it yourself for the first time when you were building it. And The fun part for me was that I had 2 goats out, and I was looking at one of them and doing some other stuff, and then all of a sudden I was just flying because the other goat came behind me and knocked me. So it was really fun.
All right. So I think, from my perspective, I'm not sure if I personally would think it's too fun. So how do I go about avoiding getting knocked?
Oh, that's a great question, actually. So the way it works is that the goat is going to try to line up with you, and if you're still standing in that position, it will lower its head and charge you and ram you. But if you move away, then the goat will see that you're no longer there, and then it's just going to continue doing its business.
Okay, so it's going with a bit of a tunnel vision here.
Yeah, for sure. So it's fairly easy to avoid it, but the cool thing is that when you stand and do other stuff, then you might not see it sneaking up behind you.
I mean, that definitely will happen to me. So next question is from Shodrikai. I'm gonna ask this one of you, Henrik. So this may be too much to ask, but I think that volcanoes and volcanic caves would be a great addition to Minecraft at some point. Would you ever consider adding these to Minecraft?
I think volcanoes are really cool. So maybe, of course, we can't promise anything. Probably not this update. The challenge with volcanoes is, well, they can be dangerous, especially if they're supposed to do things like erupt. And one of the design principles is we want, when bad stuff happens, the players should be somehow involved so they can stop bad things from happening. So I wouldn't want to come back from a long journey and find my village covered in volcanic ash.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Right?
But would you be able to start a volcano yourself then, perhaps?
Either you can do something to start it, or you can do something to stop it. I don't know. We'd have to figure it out. But the key point is that there need to be some way to control it, and it's not something we're focusing on right now, at least.
Great.
But yeah, someday I would.
Someday. I'm also looking forward to it. I think they could be actually really cool. So next question then. This one is from Silent Whisperer. I'm gonna ask this one of you, Nir. So are the underground structures going to be updated as well? For example, mineshaft, dungeons, strongholds, or fossils? And what's the plan for making these old school structures work in my fancy new caves?
Generally, when we do an update, we try to look at what can we add and expand the game on. And we kind of really like the structures already there. We did have conversations about it, and we're going to go over them to see if there's things that really need to be brought into the 2020 or to be on par with everything else. But generally, no. Generally, we like to add new things to your world.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. So if we look back in the Nether, we added the Bastion remnants, and then if we look back to Village and Pillage, we added a ton of new variation to the villages. So what would you personally like to update in terms of structures next, or would you just add a new one?
So, that's a really good question. The first thing I would like to do is another village update, because I love villagers so much. I think you did 2 of them already, right? But I love villages. I would love to do even more with them.
That's cool. So with that, we're gonna move into the next question. This one is from Tanstar23. Also for you, Nir. Can we pick stalagmites with Silk Touch or something else, and can we place them later in our world somewhere else?
Yeah, I saw this question online. It was a bit weird for me because in the video, what we see is that even when they fall, they fall as items, right? They break into items, and you can take them and put them yourself wherever you want. No silk touch required.
So that's pretty neat. So if I think we have stalactites that hang in the roof, and then we have stalagmites at the bottom, right? If I pick them up, can I place them both in the roof and on the floor?
Yeah, you can do whatever you want with them.
So they're not picky in the sense of direction, and they fell.
No, I don't.
I'm not sure.
You were. Yeah, I didn't. I was just are those different blocks? I'm not sure.
We'll add that to the stuff we have to figure out.
Yeah. I would love to do more. Again, I'm thinking about it in archaeology, but no promises. I'd love to do more with sunken ships. Who built them? Why are they there? It's really interesting to me to explore that.
Yeah, for me, they're my first sources of bamboo. So yeah, please keep the shipwrecks as they are.
As a panda, I need more than 1 or 2 bamboo. I need a lot of bamboo. So that's not
Luckily,
enough
they
for
grow
me.
pretty fast. To be fair, you just need
That's
the one.
True.
So this one is for you, Sarah. This next question is from Fricks Forgotten, and they're asking could we see the addition of the losing mobs from the 2017 mob vote in the future? I know they said they would never be added, but a lot of the community still want to see them added.
I feel like I'm the boring person in this, but we're not planning for that at the moment. No, sorry.
Oh, it's a bit sad. So do you think we could potentially add any similar mobs to that? Or is that something we're looking at?
We have so many ideas of things we want to add to the game, but we always try to add what's most valuable for maybe the theme or the update that we're working on that works best with the features we want in. So whatever fits best with what we're focusing on for the moment. So now caves and cliffs, obviously, and anything that goes well with that. We're adding a lot of mobs with caves and cliffs.
All right. So these mobs are still down in the graveyard for the time being.
Right now, I would say yes.
Okay, thank you. This next question is from EnderCube, and it's about bundles. So I'm going to ask this one to you, Matthew, because you've been working on that. So will items that are picked up automatically stack up with items of the same type inside the bundle? So will the items go into the bundle of the same type?
Right. So we are looking at some ideas to make bundles easier to use because we do want them to be easy to use. But it's also really important that things in your inventory stay how you made them. So if I make a bundle that has 10 diamonds and 1 cookie, I don't want it to change into something else while I'm not looking.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. So what will you put in your bundles?
I'm really interested in the idea of gifting. So for example, I might give someone 21 diamonds for their 21st birthday.
Oh, that's very wholesome. I like that.
Yes.
I would have a bundle of poisonous potatoes.
Yeah,
for sure.
just pure poisonous potatoes all around.
Then I'm gonna take Matthew's bundle, not yours.
Sounds fun. All right, so next up we have a few warden questions. So I'm gonna ask those to Brandon because you worked quite a lot of those. So the first question we have is from Jason Stroon. What is the warden protecting in the deep caves? I only ask this because of the unique name you gave the mob and its resemblance to the end.
Yes, so the warden is not necessarily protecting anything. We wanted to make it so that the name warden was very ambiguous. I definitely think there are going to be people like theory crafting out there what it actually means. It does have a meaning, but we're not going to tell you, obviously. But there is definitely going to be lots of loot and lots of chests within the Deep Dark. We really want it so, the objective of the warden is not so much to fight it head on. We want it to actually be more like you're avoiding it and trying to get like loot from chests that are within the Deep Dark. Even kind of thought recently, I had like this analogy of like, the warden is not a boss. It's more like a natural disaster almost. Like when you have a tornado like barreling towards you, you don't try and swing a sword at a tornado, you try to run away from it. And we want that feeling. We don't want it to feel like you're meant to just destroy it.
All right, that makes sense, but you haven't seen me fighting a tornado. So this actually ties in great to our next question, which is from Slam Green. So you talked a bit about the loot of the stuff surrounding the warden, but what will the warden itself drop?
Yeah, so we're not quite sure yet. My initial gut feeling is that I think we kind of want it to not drop anything at all, because we don't want to incentivize players actually, attacking them. Because that's just not the sort of gameplay that we're going for the warden. But also at the same time, it might be interesting to have some sort of trophy item or something which, you can like say, hey, I defeated the warden. This thing that is just so difficult to defeat. I think that might be fun, but no promises.
All right, so are you thinking in the lines of, say, the Ender Dragon head then?
Yeah, it could be something like that, or, we'll have to see. Maybe there's something special up our sleeves.
Right, sounds really cool. So one more question for you then, Brandon. This question is from the Shiny Wolf 2. So as you know, the warden reacts to vibration. So will there be an enchantment that stops vibration in the Deep Dark so you can avoid the warden?
Yeah, so I'm going to say no for this. I think we really want to make sure that you can't just get one item and then suddenly cut out a whole part of gameplay. Of course, like in theory, it sounds kind of fun. It's like, oh, I upgrade my boots and then suddenly, I'm less visible to the warden. But I think in practice, it just kind of removes gameplay, and that's not really fun.
We don't want to add things that remove gameplay, like not an enchantment that makes the warden not attack you. And that's something we think a lot about in general as well. Because like Minecraft, you're supposed to play it for a very long time, and if we start to add things that like are too convenient, then suddenly there's no game left. So we need to always be careful, so you always have the fun things there, and if you want to have something that's rare or unique, do something else without taking away gameplay.
I think that makes sense. You're saying like some friction is good.
Yes.
You're saying. So next question then. This one is from Decoy Z. And this one is for you, Henrik. So is there a reason why there are no more variants of mobs? I would love to see more biome-dependent mob variants.
Yeah, generally when we add new mobs, we like them to be kind of unique in some way. So creepers, they're the ones that explode, and endermen, they teleport. And so each creature has its thing or its place. Like hoglins, they live in the Crimson Forest, or goats live in the mountain. So we generally prefer to add a whole new type of mob, which has its own new thing, rather than take a variant of an existing mob. Although in some cases we do that. For example, we added the piglin brute, which is, I guess, a variant of a piglin because we wanted to increase the challenge of bastions. But so it's case by case, but by default we prefer new and cool things rather than just variants of,
Yeah, I guess like increasing the challenge of a cow doesn't sound that exciting, to be fair.
It would be doable, but I don't know.
Secret cow level, come on.
So I'm actually going to jump back to Agnes here. So Agnes, this is a question from GRIXW. How about you make the mossy blocks in the lush cave slippery? I would love to fall headfirst and get injured for no other reason than being careless.
That sounds painful. No, I mean, that's a fun idea. I don't think we're gonna do that. I think we're a bit worried that it would be a bit annoying if you would, fall head first, even if it sounds funny as well. Also, if it would be slippery more like ice, we think it's better to keep that behavior for ice to make blocks unique and have their own unique purpose.
What made you add the moss in the first place?
Like the lush caves should feel very like overgrown, it should be very green, and moss makes a lot of sense in a cave environment. And first we actually just had kind of small patches of moss and it didn't look good. It looked just like a cave that you decorated a bit. But then we added so it's moss almost everywhere, as you saw in the video from live. And that was like, the right atmosphere.
Yeah, it actually looks super cool. Really excited about the lush caves. Thank you so much for watching. That was the final question. So until the next time.